What is your full given name?
Honesimo Jacques.
Where do you presently live?
I live in 1303 Town Creek, Sweetwater, Texas.
When did you serve during World War II?
I served from January the 2nd to the 2nd, 1943 till February the 16th, 1946.
What branch of the military were you assigned to?
I was in the 11th Airborne, and I was joined the paratroopers. I was a gliderman and paratrooper, both.
Where were you born?
I was born August 27th, 1923.
In what town was that?
In Road 10, Texas.
And did you grow up in Road 10, or where did you grow up?
No, I did not. I came, but my parents brought me into Sweetwater when I was 3 months old, and from there I just stayed here until I grew up and left for war.
What did your father do for a living?
My father was a rancher and a farmer, and had a couple of sheep shearing machines, and so were my brothers. I mean, we're all working together.
How many brothers do you have?
I had 2 brothers.
Were they older brothers?
The older brothers, yeah. TJ was 10 years older, and Frank was 7 years older than I was.
And
I had an adopted sister, which is my first cousin, and which she's still living.
It was kind of uncommon for a lot of Hispanics back then to go to school or finish schooling, but how much schooling did you have?
I only went to the 10th grade, and I didn't even finish 10th grade.
Why was it that you left school?
I left school because at the time the Anglo people were kind of prejudiced against our race, and we had hard time going to school. We had all kinds of deals going, and so I just had to quit.
Was there a particular incident that made you quit?
Well, yes. We better let.
Well, what was Sweetwater like back then? What was the feeling toward the Hispanics, and how did they treat you?
Now the feelings towards Hispanic were pretty rough at the time. There was prejudice against us and the blacks, and so we didn't have much of a chance to do anything, just work. So I started figuring the best way for me to get out of town is to join the army.
When was the first time that you heard that this country was going to go to war?
Now that when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, December the 7th, 1941.
What were you doing at the time?
At that time, I was I was working part-time and sheep sharing,
With your father and brothers?
With my father and brothers, yeah, we all together.
Now, did any of your brothers go to war also?
Yes, Frank did. TJ had to stay with the machine because the soldiers needed, they needed for him to keep on sharing because of the wool for the OD clothing for the soldiers. So Frank and I had to go to war.
Did the Hispanics, did they feel patriotic, that they wanted to go to war, or what? How did they feel about the war?
Well, most of them did want to go. Most of them.
Did not?
But I wanted to go because of what I just said.
You wanted to get away from?
You get away from the prejudice deal and everything, and maybe things would be better by the time we got back, if we got back.
Yeah. How old were you again when the war broke out?
Well, at the time it was in 1941, and I took off in 43, so I was only 16 years old.
But you couldn't join the war at that time?
I couldn't join. I tried to join when I was 17, but my daddy would not sign for me. So I had to stay until I got my greetings card, which was 18 years old.
So when did you actually enlist?
I enlisted in February the 2nd, and I went to Camp Walters, and they were supposed to send me back for 9 days, but they never did. The war was really in the hard part. So I had to go. They sent me to North Carolina to Camp McCall.
That was
basic training.
Basic training?
Basic training.
What was that like?
Now, basic training, well, for being, it wasn't as hard as my work that I was doing in Sweetwater, but it's a lot to learn because we were supposed to learn how to fight. So I took my basic training in Camp McCall and Fort Benning, Georgia, and then from there, after I finished my basic training, they sent us to Camp Polk, Louisiana.
Well, how were you treated when you were in basic? Was it different from when you were in Texas, or?
Well, we was treated pretty good for the first month or so. We had some people that were from Texas and Oklahoma, and we had it kind of rough with them. But finally, they found out that we all had to fight together, so we got to where we worked like brothers and sisters.
So did you make friends with any of the Anglos in basic training? Did you make friends with any of the Anglos when you were in basic training?
Yeah. We were all, after that, after a month or so, we all got together where it was a big family. We all made friends.
Who were some of your buddies, best friends when you were in basic training?
Well, there was Marcelo Prado, which was one, he lived in my barracks. And then there was Ralph Alcala from Sweetwater. There was 6 or 8 of us, and then there was Jesse Smiley and John Smiley from Sweetwater.
All from Sweetwater there in that same basic training.
And there was 3 or 4 more there that were. It was about 8 of us from Sweetwater, all in that same division, in the 11th Airborne Division. Separated on different companies.
Did you make any new friends from other states when you were there too?
I made good friends from West Virginia. In fact, Roanoke, Virginia, which his name was Bolts, and I made good friends with this guy, and I made friends with with all of them after a few months back. After we start knowing each other and how we start treating each other a little better. The prejudice went away. So.
Well, did the officers treat you the same as anybody else?
The officers were pretty good. They were all right.
Just some of the.
Yes, some of the people that came out of Texas and Oklahoma, and some from New Mexico. They were kind of still prejudiced there for the first month or so. But they changed their minds, I guess, because we got along real good after that.
Did you volunteer to be a paratrooper, or were you selected, or what happened?
I had to volunteer. They will not select anybody. You had to volunteer to be a paratrooper.
And why did you select paratrooper?
First I used to like paratroopers to start with, when I was 10, 11 years old.
What did you like about it?
And
what did you like about the paratroopers?
Just going in the airplane and jumping, and that's all I had in my mind. And I had that in my mind when I was about 10 years old. In fact, I jumped from my mother's with my mother's umbrella from a 2-story building. That's really liking to be a paratrooper. And after that, it wasn't too long before, when I was 18 years old, I had to join the paratroopers. And another thing I liked about it, that they paid us $50 a month more than the regular soldier.
Was that one of the main reasons that you wanted to be a paratrooper?
That's about one of the main reasons too. That it was a little more money. We didn't have any money, so I thought that maybe that's quite a bit of help, especially for the family.
Did you have paratrooper training there
Yeah, I had paratrooper training and until I got my wings. And well, it's three places. It was Fort Benning, Georgia, and it was Camp McCall, and it was Camp Polk.
What kind of training did you do for paratroopers?
Now for paratroopers, the training was a little different than a regular soldier because we had to do quite a bit more running, quite a more exercises, climbing on anything that we could, like the climbing 30, 40 feet with ropes, and so pulling the artillery guns like the 37 and the 175, pulling with ropes with your shoulder through the sand, and it's quite a bit different than just regular soldiers.
Were you near the beach there with the sand, or?
Well, no, not in North Carolina. North Carolina was way out there. Everything is sand over there where we were, and the only beach we had was when we hit Wilmington, North Carolina. But that's when we went to shoot mechanical planes, to use the machine guns on planes that looked like planes. They were planes, but they were little. I say about 8 to 10 feet wingspan. So we had to go over there and shoot at them to learn how to knock them planes, their real planes, down.
Did you get to come home once you enlisted? Or?
I never did get to come home until an emergency, and I just came for about just the time that my daddy came to see my daddy because he was dying, and he died that same day I arrived, and then it took about then we buried him in 2 days, and then I was ready to go overseas. That's what they had me lined up for.
Where did you go after your training, basic training? What?
After basic training, we went to Camp Polk, Louisiana. We trained there. We trained all the time while we were here in the United States. Then from Camp Polk, Louisiana, we went to Camp Stoneman in California.
What kind of training did you do in Camp Polk?
Camp Polk was we had the bivouacs on the same basis as fighting in jungle, mud. There was nothing but rain at the time over there, so we was in mud there for 19 days straight without even changing our socks. I mean, it was rough.
Did they tell you were going to be going to a jungle area, or?
They didn't tell us, but we had it figured out because that's all we was doing, learning jungle fighting. So I figured that had to be it, and I wasn't the only one. Almost everybody knew that we was going South Pacific.
How long were you there in Camp Polk?
In Camp Polk, I was there about 3 months altogether. In a state of 19 days, just in one bivouac, and then stayed another month training in camp. And then from there, we just load up again, loaned the train, and we took off for Camp Stoneman.
Camp Stoneman is where?
In California.
And,
close to San Francisco.
What did you do there?
All we done was just marching, and calisthenics, and then we got to go when they told us that to get lined up and prepare ourselves to go overseas.
Were there any particular type of training that you
over there in Camp Stoneman? No, we were just waiting, training calisthenics, and then we training on marching, and then getting ready to load up and to take off for overseas.
That's when you got your shipping orders?
That's where we got the shipping orders, and from there, we just went straight to San Francisco, load up there, where they're still there, I think, but it says we were just kids, and I guess we was a little brainwashed, but we came through there, and it says a big old sign, it says, "Through this gate pass the best damn soldiers in the world."
Did you get to visit San Francisco when you were there?
Not quite. We didn't have time to see San Francisco at all. Yes, when we seen it, we was going to go and load up at the docks.
Did you get to tell your family that you were shipping out, or was that secret?
I didn't get to tell nobody. You couldn't tell anybody. You couldn't tell your family. You couldn't tell anybody. All you do in fact, you couldn't even ride back home and tell them where you were or what you was going through or nothing. If you did, you have a bunch of holes like a bunch of rats ate your letter. You know, one time my mother said that I had she couldn't read nothing but "Dear Mother," and the rest I was holes all over the place because I was trying to explain what we was doing and where we were. That's when we were in New Guinea.
Okay, OEM, you said that after Camp Stoneman, you went to San Francisco, and then from San Francisco you went to the Pacific, and in your hand right now you're holding a book, I guess it's the official book by the
11th Airborne.
11th Airborne. It shows the actual route that you took from San Francisco all the way to the Pacific. You want to tell us some of the places that you went by or you stopped?
Yes. To start from San Francisco, we went by Hawaii Islands, New Caledonia. We went to Australia, but that was a short stop. Then from Australia, we went to New Guinea. And then from New Guinea, we hit the Philippines, which is Leyte, Nasaboo, Aparo, Manila to Los Baños, Corregidor, Tagaytay Ridge, that's in Luzon, and Bilibid Prison.
Okay, we're going to talk about some of the places a little bit more in detail. Let me zoom out a little bit so you can see the overall route that you took. So when you went from San Francisco, you said you went to Australia. Mm-hmm. What were you doing in Australia?
We just went up to load up. And I don't even know what they was going to load up, but we did not get off. We just stayed there, and then they took off again from Australia, and that's when we left for New Guinea. Then we done all the training in New Guinea.
But what did you, back in Australia, you just basically took some time off to
that was
the countryside, and
yeah, that was when they gave us a break, you know. But that's not going from San Francisco. That's later on. We went to Australia, to New Guinea, and then from New Guinea we're going down the line to where we went to for war, right?
Okay, I wanted to find out a little bit more. You had mentioned to me sometime later that when you were down there around Sydney, you found something interesting down there that reminded you of home. That some people.
Oh yeah, that people who were sharing sheep.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, but
is it the same? Well, they're sharing the sheep the same way
they were sharing sheep without tying them, tying the legs.
That's not the way they do it in Texas, where you.
In Texas, you had to tie them to share them.
Yeah.
So I had to show them that it could be done faster than without.
Did they believe you?
And I don't know if they did or not, but I had to prove it. And that can be tied before they even blink their eyes. You could tie a sheep and keep on sharing, and then the sheep cannot get off, and you can stop in the middle of your sheep sharing, and a sheep, and you can go drink water. But with their way, you cannot turn loose until you finish.
Well, that's kind of interesting that you go halfway across the world and you found something that you had some kind of experience with.
That I've done before.
Yeah. What was different than the way that the Australians sheared sheep?
They did not tie their sheep. They just set them down and set them right between your legs, and then start shearing, and shear down on their belly instead of going from the back into the front. They go from the top to the back, and it's quite a bit of difference. But there are good shears that can do that too.
That reminded you of home, Minnie?
That reminded me of Sweetwater.
Did you Did you meet any? I mean, did you know their names? Get any communications with those people after you left there? Or?
We got to be pretty good friends, but I didn't get to stay there that long. We just talked about it, and they were all excited about the way we done things here in Texas.
Okay. So you just spent a little bit of time there, and then from there you said you went to New Guinea.
Then from New Guinea.
What did you do in New Guinea? Where did you?
Now in New Guinea, we done some jungle training, heavy jungle training.
What was the name of the location there?
What's the name of that little thing? Dabadura. That's where we stopped, and then we start training in the beaches and the rivers, to cross rivers loaded with 90 pounds. Crossing the river, because we had to do that, and we was getting ready to attack Leyte.
Did you do any jumping from airplanes or anything?
And then we was training to jump in the jungle. So the first jump that I made it was the second jump that I made in New Guinea, I broke my leg.
Oh, before you even went to battle?
Before I went to Leyte. I broke my leg, and there was they call it the battlegrounds. I mean, it wasn't clear. It was some Japanese in that country, and what they call the Voces, and you had dangers on both sides. And after that, I went to the hospital, and I got well. And then by that time, we was ready to leave for Leyte. So I got to be in the invasion of Leyte.
What kind of action did you see in Leyte?
In Leyte, we landed in the beach at the time. 511 jump, we didn't at that time, and we came in them U-boat. They call it PT boats, and we came in about 15-20 minutes to the boat, and we made the landing over there. And at the time, we thought we was going to have real heavy enforcements there that would back us up, but we didn't have too much of an opposition, so we walked through that thing. And then we came back and unloaded the ships, and after we unloaded the ship, then that's when the hot stuff started. We loaded, we unloaded, and brought everything we had in the beach, and then we took off, and that's when we took off through Leyte, across. I mean, through the jungle. Every little town, well, there's light passes that were 35 feet wide and 1,200 feet high, and we had to go through them while it was raining, muddy and everything, to cross to the other side. And so it was.
Well, did you encounter any Japanese during that time?
And we encountered Japanese from the first day. And it was Japs all the way till we ended Leyte. And we didn't have much rest, while we were doing that. And all the division was separated. Some went one way, some the other way. But we had a deal to meet later on. And then in Leyte, then I volunteered to go and guard an airport, which it had 18 liaison planes, 18 C-47s, and it had we had a dump. I mean, with all kind of ammunition and bombs and everything.
Why did you volunteer for that?
Because I thought I was going to get away with something.
Thought it was going to be the easy way out.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a pretty good rest deal, because it was 12 or 15 miles behind the lines. So I figured that'd be a good deal. The problem was that the Japanese had the same thing figured out. He said they was going to clear out that field. So they picked, forget the name of the company of the Japanese, but they were all 6-footers and up.
Paratroopers?
Paratroopers. So this was paratroopers. And we had a hand-to-hand deal there, and they were, I say that 350, I think it was a lot more than that, or maybe I thought it was more than that. But anyway, we got about half of them before they hit the ground. And then they run us off of our camp. They burned all the planes. they burned the dump, ammunition dump, and they run us out of there into the jungle. And all night long we fought them and kept them out until Colonel Haska, which was running the 674, and I was still in headquarters. So they came over to take us out of that deal, and which we lost a few men, a bunch of wounded people and everything, but they got us out of that. We all got together and fought them in a skirmish line, and we cleaned them out. We didn't leave any behind.
What was the weather like during that time?
And then the weather, well, at night that we dug the foxholes, the rain, you could see the moon 1 minute and the rain the next minute. You know, the clouds was passing by, and it just rained and rained and rained, and until the holes start filling up with water.
Your foxholes?
In foxholes. And we had to take the helmets and to start throwing the water out of there to keep on to where we could sleep while the other guy guard. You know, was two men to the hole. And it was a rough one. Anyway, it was a rough deal.
Were the Japanese around there at that time?
The Japanese were trying to get in where they could get to us, but they couldn't make it. And then in the morning, that's when Colonel Haska came in with his 674, and that's when he put us in line and told us to, you know, to get in line, and we had to clean all them Japs out of that island, which we did. You know, he was the one, and all he had in his hand was a 45. And he's a tough guy. And anyway, he got us out, got the few people that was left, that the ones guarding the airport. And so we made it out of there, and one of my buddies from Sweetwater, which is Basilio Jimenez, got shot twice.
How did that happen?
While I was looking at him. While we was running to attack the Japanese, and he was just a little ways from where I was, and I seen him when they hit him in the face, and he thought he was gone. So he grabbed that folding stock. That's what we had, the parachute. Parachutists had the folding stock 30-30s, and he unfolded that thing with one hand, while he got with one hand and the other one with the clippers on his hand. And he started after that Jap that hit him, and he was a runner. He followed that guy until the Japanese jumped into a hole, and he let go of the whole clip, which was 17 rounds. Then he changed clips, and while he was changing clips, another Jap turned back and seen him, and hit him in the arm, and knocked him down. And he got up and followed that other Jap, and I'm not going to say what he said, but he was cussing everybody in their way, and he caught up with that guy, but this guy didn't get to jump into a hole. He had a few holes in the back, you know, with another 17 round clipper. And then two medics from Sweetwater, which it was Jesse Smiley and John Smiley, knocked him down. They couldn't, he was fighting them to stay and fight. He was going to kill all the Jets by himself. And so they got him down, they brought him back, and they sent him to New Caledonia for 3 months.
To rehabilitate?
Yeah, and finally he got well, and he thought he was going to be sent to Sweetwater, or we did. And 3 months later, he appeared back at the 674, and by that time I've been transferred from headquarters to headquarters 674.
You were still in Leyte at the time?
We wasn't still in Leyte. And then it came in, we was in that San Pablo airstrip. And after that, we got out of that, and he came over, and we got together that day. We dug a hole on that hard surface, rock or whatever, and we start talking about Sweetwater. And we start thinking about what they was doing in Sweetwater and everything else, and then all of a sudden, I told him, I said, around 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock, we always get attacked by the Japanese, and it'll be a Banzai holler that you won't believe. And he hadn't heard it before. And so we were still talking, and it was about around 1 o'clock when I heard that looked like a cow that been tied up or something, you know, the kind of voice. And so I told him to grab either the 38 or the 45 because we were being attacked. And then at that time he said, who's going to attack us at this time? At that time, there's Japanese passed by our tent, and he put the bayonet into the tent, and he slicked that thing from one end to another.
Well, you were inside.
And we was laying on the, see, we had a hole, and he thought we was on top of the ground, so he just went in there. And at the time that he slit that thing, we seen the moon, and we start fighting like heck. We fought hand to hand all that night until we run out of there, run them out, run the whole bunch of them. Most of them were killed. And that was the start of the first day that he came in from, when he came in from New Caledonia. That was initiation for him. Yeah, that was because the other one was just an attack, but this one was, it's worse at night when you're laying down and somebody's attacking you, you know, that's worse than the way we. So from there, we just kept going through Leyte until we got out of there and started in Luzon.
Well, you just went from one village to another? And
yeah, village to village, village to village, wherever, and I can't remember the names. There's so many names.
I see you got something to show us right here. Maybe you can tell us what. I see a sword right here next to you.
Oh yeah.
That's
yeah, we have a two-hand sword over here that belonged to a mayor.
It's Japanese.
Japanese sword. Mayor. Yeah. And
maybe you can put it up in front of you just to.
Yeah. And that's a two-hand sword which can cut two men in one shot.
How did you get that sword?
And this sword was taken by me picking out the mayor for myself.
What were you doing when?
We were on guard. We was watching the Japanese to come in. We knew they was going to attack us through there, so we waited until they came in, and it was pretty early. We could see real good. We could see who they were and everything. So my buddy picked the one on the left, and I picked the one on the right. And the one on the right had this sword, and had a Japanese Luger. So I got them and a hair carrying knife. I had a hair carrying knife too, that I broke. I think Rodney seen that hair carrying knife, and so I brought them home, and then that was the end of this battle here. It wasn't.
Well, you know, everyday life and war is pretty different. You know, to train you to be able to attack the enemy. I guess you have to have a change in your psychology about what you think about them. Did they bother you?
You do change. You change so much that you won't notice it until you come back. And then a couple of years later, you start thinking about it. It's a kind of a crazy deal. But
did you feel like you were killing another human being when you
killing human being, which you didn't feel anything.
Just the enemy.
Yeah, and that's what it is and has to be, because if you didn't do that, you won't
survive.
Yeah, you won't survive. So it's a different story when you're in it, and you learn quite a bit from that, you know, to be later on think about it, and you be a lot better person. You have to. Yeah.
What kind of things that you see there, the battles wise and all that, when you were in Leyte? Were there more hand-to-hand battles there?
There was about two of them that I went through, and a lot of fighting with artillery. And we had a bunch of artillery fights that we could see the enemy right there, but we had the artillery to do it. So we've seen a bunch of that too, and it was always artillery or like infantry. So we were both infantry and artillery. We fought either way. So it was nothing different on any of the battles. I think they all were about the same deal. You know, they were all the time nothing but your life in danger. That's And you want me to close?
After Leyte, what did you said you went to the Philippines?
Yeah, we went to the Philippines, which is Luzon.
That's the main island.
That's the main island. That's the main island.
What did you do there?
And then there we started from one side of Corregidor all the way, and that's when we started up from through this. We went to Tagaytay Ridge, part of Corregidor on one side, and then was Los Baños, Apparel, Nasabu, and that's the whole Philippines, you know.
Were there battles there, or were we?
Oh yeah, it was battle from the start to the end of the. Till we hit the Bilibid Prison.
Oh, you went to Bilibid where all the.
Yeah, we had to go out there and get them prisoners out.
Those were the ones that were brought there through the death march, huh?
Yeah, and well, they were imprisoned there in Bilibid Prison for years because the Japanese took them prisoners because they was fighting for the Americans, and so they took them in there, and some were just kids. They're little bitty kids, you know, 11 years, 10 years old, and after that Bilibid Prison, then we took off for this, if I can remember, it's not here.
When you all the Americans came there on the island, Luzon, and marched all the way down to the Manila. What kind of reception did you get from the Philippine people?
Now we really got a heck of a reception from them. You know, they was hollering and everything else that we came in, because they've been like prisoners. The whole bunch was like prisoners all the time. So they were on our side. They were on our side. Very few that were pro-Japs.
What you mean? Actually, they were fighting with the Japanese against them?
Yeah, they was fighting with the Japanese, helping them to get to the Americans one way or another, and that's the pro-Jap. But the rest of them were with us.
Were any Americans killed by these pro-Japanese Philippines?
They all what?
Were there any Americans killed by the?
Oh yeah. There was
kind of things that you.
There was one guy. There was one man that came to see us and talked to us, and his beard went about down to his knees, and he looked like an old man, real old, and his beard, you know, kind of curled on the bottom. And he walked in there and he said that I've been here since the first walk of the March of Corregidor. He said, and I've been, you know, and he was one of them, like a detective, you know, checking on people and everything. And after we won the war, I seen him again, and he was the straightest. When I seen him, he couldn't hardly walk. And then when the war was over, then I seen him. He was no beard, and he was young and standing up just as straight as anybody else. And that was his job. He was one of the front men that really saved a bunch of Americans, and I can't think of his name.
Well, what did the pro-Americans do to the pro-Japanese people there? Did they just let them go, or what did they? What?
And there was a woman and two sons. They will not give up. They had the pro-Jap. They had that mark under their arm.
What kind of mark is that?
It's a PJ. It's pro-Jap, and you can get it off, and that's burned in. And so, while they didn't want to talk to see who was the leader of the pro-Japs there in Manila, and they didn't want to talk, and they cut part of their legs, and then they tie them up, and well, they were already tied when they stuck the knife on their legs, and then
they were trying to force them.
To force them to talk, you know, because right there it wasn't court like they do here, you know. Over there was there. What is? Yeah, that there.
Court or
the civilians were doing it. You know, they wanted to find out because so many people died.
And they tied these people up and they were torturing them. They still wouldn't.
They will not talk. And then finally they just dropped. They had two 5-gallon cans of gas right around there, and he said, "You either talk or we're going to put this around put a bunch of twigs and branches around there." He said, "You either talk or we're gonna put gas on this thing and fire it up, They didn't say anything, but this guy put the gas in there. He said, put the gas right around their twigs and branches and everything. He said, are you going to talk or not? And when they said they weren't going to talk, so they just threw the match. It wasn't a match, it was like a little lighter. And so that was the end of that. Burning all three up, but they never did holler, they never did make any noise. All you heard is just like mourn a little bit, and that's it.
Well, I know you saw a lot of, bad, cruel things there in the Philippines, but was any other things that were, beauty? I've heard of Manila and some of the other places.
Yeah,
there.
and they told us not to feed any of the kids in the Bilibid prison because they could die. And somebody gave 2 kids something to eat, which was 2 cans of some kind of meat that we had, and they ate them cans, and it wasn't 5 minutes before they was laying down dying. And we didn't know that could happen, but that proved to everybody that it could happen.
You were trying to help them, but it was the worst thing.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody else was trying to help them.
Well, what was Manila like when you entered the city?
When we entered Manila, it was tore up from one end to another. That we blew up the train that was supposed to be bringing Japanese soldiers. And then MacArthur got on his hotel in the balcony, and he started talking to the Japanese, telling them that he said, "I told you I was going to come back."
You saw that when MacArthur landed in the Philippines?
Yeah, he was with us most of the time, and he come in there and told him that, he said, "I told you I was going to come back." He said, "And here I am." We didn't count.
Well, what did you feel about him taking the credit for that? Is that
I felt pretty bad because he didn't mention us at all. See, we were the ones doing the fighting, and he said, "I came here. I told you I was going to get back over here." And that's pretty bad. I thought that was, everybody thought the same thing. But I didn't like that at all, but that's the way it went. And so he was there. He did come back like he said.
Did you get to see the walled city there in Manila?
I stayed in walled city for quite a few days. Yeah, that walled city was nothing but Spaniards in it. And they're the one that took 367 years, took the Philippines over, took Manila with, and yeah, we met a few people.
Really? You remember any of them, or what?
I remember some names, but it's pretty hard. There's so many of them. But
did you make friends with them?
I made friends with a family, especially with one family, and I really, it's been so many years, I get mixed up with 2 families because there were different names that they were in Spanish, but they're different.
They could speak Spanish.
Yeah, every one of them could speak Spanish. Good.
How did you find that out?
I found that out by 2 girls looking for fruit and say how pretty them papayas and them mangoes were. And so that's me and my buddy, we turned around and said, "Hey," he said, "did you hear that?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Well," he said, they spoke Spanish. I said, "Just now." And so we got together and, we met them, and we went to their house and met their parents, and we got to be good friends with their parents and everything. And of course we didn't last there, we didn't last too long. After that we was getting ready to move on and go to, that's when we moved on to Okinawa. We went to another little place, and I forget the name of it.
What, you said you went through a corregidor and...
yeah, we went on the side of corregidor, and the 511 went right through it.
What you said, what's Tagay Ridge?
Tagaytay Ridge, it was on top of the ridge was what they call it, like a club, big club. It had marble floors, marble seats, and big, beautiful mirrors and everything. It was beautiful and belonged to MacArthur.
Is that in Manila, or is that?
No, that's out of Manila. That's in Tagaytay Ridge. It's quite a few miles from Manila. It's just a beautiful, beautiful island by itself.
Oh, an island.
Yeah, it's the lake tile is around it, and that ridge is in the middle, and you can see lake tile all around that Tagaytay ridge. It's a beautiful place. Yeah, and that was a battle too, to take over that.
You were involved in a battle?
Yeah, I was in battle, and that.
There were Japanese there when you went?
All over the place. Yeah, there was Japanese. They didn't want us to get close.
So how did you take it?
And we took it the same way we did. We just
you invaded the island, or
and we just kept going.
How did you invade? Is that over with gliders, or did you use your?
No, that's when the jump came in. One jump on that, and the rest of them by crawling through the mountain, going up the hill, and to take over, to take over the whole business. And really, there weren't that many Japanese in that, but there was supposed to be thousands of them, but we didn't meet that many. And that, reinforcements. They say, oh, they were bringing reinforcements and all that.
Well, the Japanese wouldn't give up, even there were just a few and surrounded. They wouldn't give up.
They will not give up. No, the ones that usually the ones that gave up, they committed. Few of them gave up as prisoners, but it didn't work too good. You couldn't keep our division was too little to be keeping prisoners. We had orders for a long time not to take any prisoners.
Well, were there any other battles in some of the other places you mentioned? Pari and
yeah, Pari. All of them places were just fighting all the way. Every little town, every village was nothing but.
Was just small bands of Japanese.
Yeah, just not small bands, but they moved to when they figured that it was better to block that deal, so we can, trying to beat us, but they was lost from the start anyway. They knew it. They really didn't know it, but they was finding out they was getting cleaned out. So finally they did, and so Japanese lost thousands of Japanese on that island, Luzon. And not Luzon, just the Tagaytay Ridge. They lost it in Leyte, in Los Negros, Los Baños, everywhere. So it was a battle all the way through from the start.
After the Philippines, where did you go?
Then from there we went to Okinawa, and we went to mop up what was left over there. Quite a few yet left in there. They call it mop up, but I call it a war. But we went over there and we was mopping up everything, and all of a sudden, that's when the bombs would drop in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And then we heard the word that to get ready that we might be the first ones into Japan.
Okinawa, is that the place where the people were committing suicide off the cliffs?
And I didn't hear about the ones commit suicide with hurricane knife and everything else, but that was a lot of them jumped from a cliff, but not
snipers
they were on holes against the the walls of the rock.
How did you get them out?
But the last ones are there. There was a guy by the name of Cooper from Oklahoma. We let him down on one of the holes, and he dropped down and he threw in about 5 grenades into the hole, and then we pulled him up, and that was the end of the machine gun.
That was the side. He dropped down on the side of the cliff.
On the side of the cliff.
Where those caves were.
Yeah, and then after that, well, it wasn't long before we start. They told us to start getting ready because Japan was surrendering, and that ship that MacArthur was going on meet him over there. They went to meet him.
That was after the A-bombs were.
After the A-bombs was, but they gave us a go as soon as that happened. When he was signing, we had to fly and hit Japan at the times to find out if they really was going to give up. So
you didn't know. You thought you might have to.
Yeah, we thought we had to. We didn't know if they was lying or not. They lied quite a bit. So anyway, we hit Tokyo, we hit Yamagata, and we hit Well, had so many places, Atsugi, Sapporo, and Tokyo. All of them, but I was stationed in Yokohama. And not Yokohama, but Yamagata. But from there, we operated all over the country, you know.
Did you get to see where the bombs dropped?
Yes, we had to go. We went to see that. And
What was that like?
I brought a bunch of pictures of that stuff. But I'll tell you what, now that thing, you couldn't believe it. You had to see it to believe it, that what the bomb's done. Where they melted the railroad tracks, melted the trains, just plumb melted, you know. And the buildings, the not brick, but well, it looked like brick, but that thing was melted like water, you know. And there were spots where people was burned out, that all you see, it's a spot of a human being that been there, you know, and that's all you could see.
Well, how long after the bombs dropped were you there?
Oh, we were there not too bad. Still, that we were afraid to get in there. It was quite a long time, I guess. It was after that, I forgot how long it was, but we had to be careful when we went in there, because they still thought that there might be poison, you know, all over the place. But it was, you know, there was some more people that got there before we did to check.
What was your main mission there in Japan? Were you cleaning up all the destruction, or what were you doing?
You mean the first, because we was the first one then? We was ready to, you know, in case they weren't telling the truth, we was going to start fighting in Japan anyway. Either their planes were ready to bomb, everybody was ready to fight. So they knew it. And when we came in, they started dropping all their guns and just gave up, you know, threw everything on the ground when we landed.
They surrendered to you?
And they surrendered. Oh yeah, everybody quit the fight. Everybody was peaceful, and except the Black Dragon. You know, we had some Black Dragons in there that just won't give up. But there's very few of them.
Did you see the Emperor and any of the generals when you were there?
Yeah, and I seen Tojo. That was the first one that committed suicide with a hurricane knife, but he didn't die. They took the knife, they took him to a hospital, and they got him well, and they hung him later on. And so let's see. It wasn't too long after that when they had the courts. You know, they had the courts to get him. Yeah, to get him going, because he was a murderer from one end to another. I mean, he murdered people for the left of it. They just, you know, he was rough. And so that's how come he wanted to kill himself. But he just happened to, too hard to be killed. But they finished him out anyway.
Did you see the Emperor, you said?
Yeah, see the what?
The Emperor?
Oh yeah, I seen the Emperor. When he used to walk through the streets, used to ride the white horse, they couldn't see their faces. I mean, the Japanese just bowed to the Emperor, you know, like he was a god. And nobody would raise their head to see him, you know, because they say that before that, if anybody would raise their head, he's done raise his head for good, you know. He said they'd get him killed. And so that's how come they was doing that until we were there. Then he passed with our troops, and everybody was looking at him, you know. He was no better than anybody else, but they couldn't see him. That
they
was
were not allowed to look on him.
And then they were allowed to look at this guy, and he was no better than anybody else.
Did you get to see much of Japan, traveling everywhere, or what?
I traveled to quite a few cities, you know, just to see what they looked like and how much bombing we done over there. Tokyo was bombed pretty well. What was the name? Yokohama. And Yamagata was almost flat on the ground. I mean, that thing was pretty well tore up. And that was my station. That's where my camp was, right about 10 miles from the city. And there was a couple of hospitals left, wooden hospital that looked like brick barracks, and on that place. And that's where I went to the hospital.
What happened that you had to go to the hospital? I ate some carabao meat in Manila, and I caught them pinworms.
and that's what put me in the hospital instead of the war. The pinworm.
What is that disease? What happens to you?
The pinworm is it comes in meat that is not in the refrigerated. It's not refrigerated, and then if it takes a few days, well, it gets just like. But them kind of worms are not worms. It just it goes into human beings and gets in there, and they're kind of look like a football. And when they stick in there, and you can't eat. If you try to eat, they eat it for you. You know, they'll be in your esophagus, and they'll just get in there and eat all what you got, and that's the way they kill you if they don't get somebody to fix you up, which they did me. You know, they give me that.
How did they know you had the pinworms?
The only way that nobody could find what was wrong with me. Everybody thought I was homesick. The medics, and I knew it was not homesick. I knew something was wrong. So.
Well, what happened that you thought you were too sick and needed to go to the hospital?
And they would not. No, they would not take me to the hospital because they thought that I was, just talking. Finally, I took off by myself and I turned myself into the hospital. And then they started checking on me, and it took a week, and they couldn't find anything wrong with me. And then one day, I was always hungry. When I got to where I was going to eat, I wanted to throw up, So this time I took 2 spoons. I really need to eat. And that made me throw up, and I threw up a couple of them pinworms. And that's when they found out what I had, and I got well in no time. It didn't take me but just a few days to start gaining my weight back. I was weighing 208, and I was weighing about 155, something like that, nothing but bone. And so that was a different deal. That was at the end of the war. I couldn't come in until a week later, after my buddies left for Sweetwater.
Well, they gave the orders to ship out, and you were still there in the hospital.
Everybody shipped out, and I couldn't ship out. Not everybody that was with me, but I shipped out on the second boat. And that was about a week later.
You went to where? To the San Francisco? Where did you go to?
I landed in Tacoma, Washington.
Oh, Tacoma.
And when from Tacoma, we used to go to Seattle and back. It's not very far. And but we stayed.
When you were given orders to ship back, did you think things were all going to be different? You said you left because
yeah, I thought coming over here, I thought it was going to be, because of what we've been through, and we had everybody treat each other the same. All the soldiers were one soldier, and but find out that I hit Sweetwater, and about a week later, I went to eat in a restaurant, and I still had my suit on, my army clothes. Me and another buddy, and they will not serve us hamburgers. They want us to, if we hit the hamburger, to go eat them outside. So at the time,
didn't change much as you were gone, huh?
It didn't change much until later on. The people that stayed here were nothing but 4Fs. They never did go to war or nothing, so they didn't know no difference. They were too dumb to do anything. So that's the reason they started that. But it didn't last long. That started changing pretty quick, because they learned that they either changed or they was going to have to quit. So
how long were you in Tacoma before you went back home?
I was 19 days, 22 days in Tacoma. 19 days we stayed around, just the other 2 days in the ship, and then we took the train to San Antonio, Texas. From there, we took a train all the way to San Antonio, and that's where my discharge came. That's in.
Then you left from there back to Sweetwater.
Then from there, we came to Sweetwater, and I've been here since.
What was the first thing that you did when you came back?
Well,
take it easy for.
The first night, the first day that I thought I was going to rest, and then at the time we drank a little bit, and then the next morning my brother came over to tell me to go and help him to share a bunch that they had to finish on Saturday, and that was my first break.
Nothing that changed since you left. Huh?
Yeah, yeah. So, but that you know, it didn't look as hard then when you came back. We came back. We didn't.
So I see you got a few of your medals down here from your battles.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got 6 battle stars and 1 spearhead.
The top one is the paratrooper.
And yeah, this is my insignia for paratrooper and gliderman. And the rest of them is battles in the Asiatic Pacific and Pacific. And well, you know, been so many years I couldn't hardly tell you. And then there was liberation of Luzon, right here, that yellow one. And still, I'm supposed to get, or we were supposed to get, a solid gold medal from the president of the Philippines.
I see.
And
I never saw it though.
And I never saw it. No.
And how about that picture underneath? Where?
Oh, this picture was taken in Tacoma.
So I guess that's you on the far right.
You can see where I'm at, and then this is my buddy here in Sweetwater. He's still living here in Sweetwater, and the rest of them, I don't know where they went. I couldn't tell you, but we're still here, 2 of us, still alive, with 77 years in our back. We're the same age. Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, thanks for giving us the experience that you had. Is there anything else that?
No, that's about it. There's a lot more, but I can't remember. I can't. Remember everything, you know. We went through a lot more than that. I need a whole day to talk about all the towns we went through, and really I can remember the names of the towns, really some of them, but so, it was a little more than.
Well, did that experience there? How did that change you? Was it for the better, for the worse? What do you think?
I think it changed me for the better. I think that experience, you think twice before you do something wrong. Yeah, and over there we had what would you say it? How would you say it? We had a permit to kill, and over here we don't. And right here, you be careful of what you're going to do. And that's
so you did things there that you would never
you would never do here, you know. And so that's why I say it make you a better person. I say if it would like over there, you know, you'd be shooting everybody that gets in your way.
Well, did it make you appreciate the freedom that we have here in this country more?
And that makes it where it pays, you know. It paid to be in the Army because people start changing and thinking. Now I get letters from the VA and everything thanking us for what we done during the war. You know, I don't think they would have said that if I hadn't gone to war. And they appreciate what we done for them. And that's pretty good, I think.
I mean, you think that experience there kind of proved to the rest of the people here that, you know, you belong here as much as they do it, and
that's exactly right. There's nobody better or worse. Everybody has to be the same. It's no better person than the other person. You all have to be work as one, and that's what was wrong before. And it's not all clear, but very few now. You know, you don't hear very much of this, what we used to hear about. Now it's quite a bit. I said all my kids went to school, college, and everything, and they had it pretty good because it was a different era then. So.
So you came back, and then I guess you probably settled down and raised your family.
Settled down, got married, and have a family. Yeah.
Well. Okay. Anyway, if you don't have anything else, I think.
I believe that's about it.
Okay.